I stood on the podium under the blinding, celebratory lights of the Centauri Innovations IPO gala, wearing the emerald dress my husband, Trenton Pierce, chose, the one that made me look suitably supportive and utterly naive. He pulled me close, flashing that practiced CEO smile for the cameras, and murmured, "Tell them you love me, Sylvie. Tell them you're the rock." Just hours earlier, I had overheard him and his mistress, Lydia Shaw, not only finalize their affair, but also their calculated plan to use the divorce papers he'd signed to strip me of the $50 million I had invested in his company, then dump the blame on me for his fraud. That moment, standing there, realizing my entire marriage was a carefully constructed financial betrayal, was the deepest psychological violence I had ever known. But Trenton didn't know I wasn't just Sylvie Rhodes, the supportive wife. He didn't know I was the sole heir to the multi-billion-dollar Rhodes Global Trust. I took a breath, adjusted the microphone, and knew my single revelation was about to make the entire stock market, and his life, implode. Before we dive into today's story, take a moment to share where you're watching from. We love seeing how our stories bring people together from every corner of the world. Your thoughts and comments are what make this community so special, and we're truly grateful to have you here. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story filled with drama, resilience, and unexpected twists. Now, settle in, get comfortable, and maybe grab your favorite drink because this is a tale you won't want to miss. Let's get started. For 6 years, I was Sylvie Rhodes, the quietly successful wife of a rising CEO. It was a role I accepted, a performance I perfected. I wanted to believe that beneath the layers of ambition, Trenton Pierce could love me for who I was, not for the colossal fortune I commanded. That fortune was the Rhodes Global Trust, a vast investment firm inherited from my grandfather, the kind of generational wealth that makes genuine connection feel like a fragile, impossible dream. I gave Trenton what his ego demanded: a beautiful, unassuming woman on his arm, posing no threat to his ambition. My true identity, the source of my wealth, was a secret locked away in the granite vaults of Mr. Edwin Stone's law firm, sealed by non-disclosure agreements that predated our marriage. Through a complex web of shell companies and blind trusts, I was the anonymous major investor who funded his dream. I poured over 80% of the initial capital and subsequent loans into Centauri Innovations. He never knew. He simply believed in his own genius, certain that money flowed to him because he was destined for greatness. Tonight was his coronation. The grand ballroom of the Manhattan Hotel was electric with the intoxicating buzz of greed and champagne. It was the pre-initial public offering gala, the final celebration before Centauri went public on the NASDAQ, an event poised to make Trenton a self-made billionaire. Tucked inside my emerald clutch was a small, folded note card. The words on it were the culmination of my foolish faith, Trenton. The anonymity ends tonight. I am the anonymous investor. I am a Rhodes. I was ready to give him the world, believing that by sharing the weight of my reality, we could finally build a real marriage. As I moved through the room, offering serene smiles, the illusion of our life began to crack. My mother-in-law, Celeste Cole, a woman whose self-worth was entirely tethered to her son's success, intercepted me. She gripped my arm, her touch a cold assertion of ownership, pulling me towards a cluster of photographers. "Sylvie, darling, stand here. Make sure they get your good side," she commanded, her voice a sharp instrument of social cruelty. "I still tell Trenton how fortunate he is that you are willing to settle down. With your background, no true financial lineage, really you'd never fit into this circle without him. He put you on this stage." Her words were a calculated public humiliation, designed to reinforce my role as the accessory wife who needed his patronage to exist. I smiled the serene smile I had perfected over the years, my body rigid until she released me. Needing a moment of quiet before the main event, I slipped away to find Trenton. His temporary executive suite was down a short, velvet-roped hallway. As I approached, I saw the door was slightly ajar. I hesitated, hearing not just Trenton's voice, but a low, intimate laugh that belonged to Lydia Shaw, Centauri's head of research and development. I froze. The note card in my hand suddenly felt like a foolish relic. An affair was something my gut had suspected, but hearing the confirmation was a profound violation. I pressed myself against the cool marble wall, my heart beating with a horrifying, crystalline calm. Lydia's voice, sharp and triumphant, cut through the silence. It's brilliant. Trenton, the market will never know the Phase 3 data was entirely fabricated. The valuation is secured. We get the stock surge, you get your wealth, and the simple wife takes the fall. My breath hitched. Fabricated. This was far more than infidelity, this was securities fraud. She's too easy, Lydia, Trenton replied, his voice dripping with a casual contempt that stung more than any shout. She thinks I'm still the struggling CEO. She believes that little $50 million investment from her modest trust was a secret. She'll sign anything I put in front of her. That divorce agreement my lawyer drew up? The one citing her infidelity. It executes the moment the IPO bell rings. She doesn't just lose her investment. I get to keep the penthouse, and she gets nothing but the shame of being framed. A useful, naive little risk mitigation tool that you're now discarding? Lydia summarized with a malicious laugh. A cold, surgical shock coursed through me. He wasn't just planning to leave me. He was planning to financially assassinate me, steal the capital I provided, and frame me to cover his own crimes. My quiet, unassuming life had made me the perfect scapegoat. My composure did not shatter. Instead, a deep, implacable coldness settled in the Rhodes temper, a methodical, analytical ruthlessness. The thought of a tearful confrontation was instantly dismissed. That was the behavior of the naive wife. This situation required the power and precision of the Rhodes Trust. I turned and walked away, my heels clicking softly on the marble, bypassing the gala. I went straight to the lobby, instructing my driver to take me to the nearest secure Rhodes Global Trust office, just 3 blocks away. The moment the door locked behind me, I made my first call. It went to Mr. Edwin Stone, the elderly family lawyer whose voice carried the quiet authority of inherited power. He answered the encrypted line instantly. Mr. Stone, it's Sylvie. Cancel the celebratory measures. Initiate the emergency buyout clause immediately. I need a full, forensic audit of Centauri Innovations completed within 30 minutes. Cross-reference all funds transferred from the Heiress Biocapital Blind Trusts with Trenton Pierce's personal asset accounts. I also need the complete financial history of Lydia Shaw. His response was calm, without question. The paperwork is already in motion. Sylvie, you included the emergency clause in the original funding documents. Trenton signed away his final control the moment he accepted the capital. Funds will be frozen within the hour, and the buyout will be executed before the NASDAQ bell rings. I was already logged into the trust's financial back-end in stark, undeniable numbers. I watched how my money had been siphoned a yacht in the Cayman Islands billed as corporate acquisition expenses, luxury penthouses disguised as conference venues, and massive, undisclosed bonuses paid to Trenton and Lydia. The betrayal was a cold, calculating act of financial contempt. He truly believed I was too stupid to ever connect the dots. Within 20 minutes, the remote forensic team activated by Mr. Stone had isolated emails detailing the intentional fabrication of the drug trial data, the criminal heart of the IPO fraud. The plan wasn't just to steal from me, it was to defraud thousands of investors and endanger patient lives. I instructed Mr. Stone to submit the complete, verified evidence package directly to the Securities and Exchange Commission and the FBI in a sealed file. I had given Trenton the rope. I would let the government tighten the knot. Before leaving, I performed one final calculated move. I transferred $1,000 from my private account to Trenton's, adding a deliberately naive text message. Thinking of you, darling, good luck tonight. I know you'll crush it. I'm so proud. I needed him to remain utterly confident, blissfully ignorant until the very last second. I returned to the gala just as Trenton's keynote was beginning. I found my place near the front, adjusting the priceless Rhodes family emerald necklace I had retrieved from my private deposit box, a piece I hadn't dared to wear for 6 years. It was no longer an accessory, it was a symbol of the power he had so foolishly ignored. Trenton bounded onto the stage, the polished embodiment of corporate ambition. He spoke for 15 minutes, a torrent of self-praise and fabricated promises, attributing the company's success entirely to his own vision and hard work. Then came his planned moment. He paused, his face softening into practiced vulnerability. And finally, he said, gesturing dramatically toward me, I have to thank the true strength behind Centauri. My wife, Sylvie Rhodes, her unwavering support and her modesty are the foundations of my success. He invited me onto the stage. As I walked up the steps, my posture flawless, my smile unreadable, he tried to pull me into a staged embrace. I stepped back, taking the microphone from his hand. He looked surprised but pleased, assuming I was about to deliver the pre-approved two-sentence script of praise. I lifted the microphone, my voice, surprisingly strong, cut through the room's silence. Trenton Pierce, I began. My gaze locked on his. You are correct. I am your foundation. His smile faltered. Darling, what? I am Sylvie Rhodes. I cut him off, my voice gaining strength. I am the CEO of Rhodes Global Trust. I am the anonymous investor. I paused, watching realization turn his ambition to sheer terror. And I have just executed the emergency buyout clause and liquidated all 80% of my capital. Your company is officially bankrupt. A collective gasp swept through the ballroom. Trenton's face went white. He lunged for the microphone, but I stepped back. The IPO is canceled, I continued, pointing to the massive screen behind us. Instead of Centauri's stock ticker, it now showed a notice of immediate suspension and investigation from the SEC. It is canceled not just due to lack of capital, but due to evidence of massive securities fraud, patient endangerment, and the deliberate manipulation of clinical trial data. You plan to defraud the market, steal my money, and frame me for your infidelity. I moved my gaze to Lydia Shaw, who was frozen in horror in the front row. Trenton Pierce, you may have planned to pin your affair on me, but you cannot escape federal charges. Before he could scream, two men in dark suits moved with swift professionalism. Identifying themselves as agents of the FBI and the SEC, they converged on the stage. Sir, you are under arrest for multiple counts of securities fraud and market manipulation, one agent stated calmly. As silver handcuffs snapped around Trenton's wrists, the other agent moved toward Lydia Shaw, who shrieked as she, too, was cuffed. I watched Trenton being led away, his face a mask of shock and defeat. His eyes met mine in a final, desperate plea. I felt nothing, no anger, no triumph, just cold. Clinical closure. My eyes briefly met Celeste Cole's. Her face was smeared with tears of rage as she watched her life of borrowed status evaporate. She screamed my name. I looked at her for a long moment, then turned my back and walked off the stage. Mr. Stone met me immediately. The divorce petition has been filed and served electronically. Sylvie, all joint assets are frozen. The prenuptial agreement he insisted upon is now your shield. He cannot touch a penny of the trust. The drive to the Hamptons estate, a vast, quiet property I had kept hidden from Trenton, was peaceful. As the black gates closed behind me, I felt the last remnants of his influence fall away. This was my home, an inherited reality I had traded for a lie. I walked through the empty rooms, gathering only a few personal items. I left my plain wedding band on the granite kitchen counter, a dull circle of gold representing a 6-year error in judgment. The next morning, Mr. Stone confirmed that federal agents had raided Centauri, seizing all records. Trenton and Lydia were formally charged by Tuesday. Centauri Innovations filed for Chapter 7 liquidation. For days, I watched the news. Every channel played the same clip, my calm face on the podium, followed by the image of a disheveled Trenton in handcuffs. The tickers read, Rhodes heiress exposes husband's massive fraud. A week later, Celeste Cole arrived at my gates. She was utterly broken. Sylvie, she choked out, weeping in the leather chair opposite me. Please, you have to help him. Tell the judge it was a misunderstanding. I looked at the woman who had spent 6 years making me feel small. I felt no rage, only a profound weariness. I can't help Trenton. Celeste, I said firmly. He chose this path when he chose greed over me. He destroyed himself. I let her cry before continuing. However, Mr. Stone is protecting your late husband's personal trust fund. It is modest, but it will be enough for you to live on. I suggest you accept that protection and disappear quietly. She stared, the conflict between relief and pride on her face, before nodding, unable to speak. 2 months later, Rhodes Global Trust acquired Centauri's core patents and research assets for a fraction of their worth at the liquidation auction. The research team was brilliant. Sylvie, Mr. Stone told me. They were just led by a lunatic. Make sure every honest scientist and researcher is offered a new contract with full profit sharing and unprecedented funding. I instructed, they shouldn't suffer for Trenton's crimes. The final sentence came down swiftly. Trenton received 10 years in a federal facility. Lydia received a shorter sentence after cooperating. I personally supervised the renovation of the former Centauri executive floor, Trenton's corner office, where he had planned his betrayal, received special treatment, the pretentious awards, the oversized desk, the leather chaise lounge where he and Lydia had mocked me. It was all dismantled. "What about this, Miss Rhodes?" the foreman asked, holding up our wedding picture. "Trash," I said without hesitation. "All of it." His former sanctuary became the new supply closet for the Rhodes Global Trust's biotech division, shelves of printer paper where his ego once lived. 6 months passed. An invitation arrived, a request to deliver the keynote address at the Global Pharmaceutical Innovation Summit. At the summit, many of the same faces from that fateful night watched me with genuine respect. "Good morning," I began. "6 months ago, many of you witnessed what happens when ambition operates without ethics. Today, I'm here to show you what we've built instead. I outlined our new structure: guaranteed profit sharing, anonymous ethics reporting, and open source research." Hours later, walking toward my car, I saw him. Trenton Pierce stood outside the federal courthouse. Flanked by his lawyers, he was thinner, his expensive suit hanging loosely. He saw me and walked toward me. "Brooke," he began, using the old nickname. "It's Sylvie," I corrected softly. "Sylvie," he repeated. "You destroyed everything." "No," I replied. "I revealed everything. You destroyed yourself the moment you tried to frame your own wife for your felonies." "You planned this all along," he accused. "I hid who I was because I wanted to be loved for myself." I explained. "You hid who you were because you were planning to commit fraud. We are not the same." He took a pleading step closer. "You were so naive," he muttered. "You actually believed in love." "You were right," I said, my voice steady as granite. "I was naive, but naivety can be cured with experience. What you have, Trenton, the selfishness, the cruelty that is terminal." His lawyer quickly guided him away. I watched them go, two silhouettes fading against the Manhattan skyscrapers. That evening, I sat in my grandfather's study. My phone buzzed. A formal notification my divorce was finalized. Following it was a message from Dr. Alistair Finch from my new research team. "Thank you for the funding. We just hit a major breakthrough. The gene therapy is stable in trial models. We won't let your vision down." I reached for the letter my grandfather had left me. "My dearest Sylvie," it began, "true wealth isn't what you inherit. It is what you become when tested. The money can be lost, but the person you become through trial and triumph, that is yours forever." I had sought love in silence and found only contempt. Now, using my fortune to build something meaningful, I had finally found something far more profound than happiness purpose. 6 months after the gala, I stood on the stage of the new Rhodes Global Trust headquarters, ready to address the press about our breakthrough. A reporter asked about Trenton Pierce. I paused, smiled easily, and replied. "Who?" I said, adjusting the microphone. "I only remember the names of the people who are creating positive change." "Next question, please."